This is Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. It's sponsored by Independent Bank, and Katy Huckle is my co-host. And Katy, this is a really timely show because the community woke up last Saturday morning and found out that one of the churches in our town, and one of the churches that really has a heart to serve,
right, an anchor church,
was gone.
Just gone. Now I'm getting the goosebumps. And so, there's a saying in show business about the show must go on. And we've got Pastor Will Markham with us today, who embodies that in a whole nother field, the field of faith. Welcome, Pastor Will.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Tell us the story. Listen to both of us.
Your week,
right? How's it going?
It's been a very interesting week. And I've talked to people that I had not talked to in years, and I've met new people that I had never known before. Right. And so it's been I would say, one divine appointment after another.
Again, the field of faith. We talked a little bit before we started the show about what actually happened. Can you debrief us?
There was calls that came into my phone that I didn't get in the middle of the night because the fire started somewhere around 2 or 2:30. I'm sure by the time it got reported, the fire was up above the roof line because nobody would have seen the fire until it was above the roof line.
Right.
And then somebody reported it. The fire departments, Herring Township First, were called in, and they came and started fighting the fire, which was in full blaze by the time they got there. They worked really, really hard, but there wasn't anything that they could save. And I normally wake up fairly early, and I woke up about 5 a.m., which was late for me. Got around and got ready to go, and there were a couple ladies at my back door, and they said, "Did you know that the Revival Center building is on fire?" I said, "No." I just couldn't believe what they were saying, and so I said, "Well, I'll be right there," and finished getting ready, and I drove down the street, and of course the street was blocked off, Platte Road was blocked off, and so I stopped down there, and then I walked up the hill, and I could see what used to be our building, and it just looked like a skeleton. I don't know how to describe that, but it looked like a skeleton that was still on fire, and so that began Saturday. And of course, I needed to make sure our congregation knew what was going on. Some did. A lot of them, different ones, came down to the bottom of the driveway. They wouldn't let them up because they didn't want people to be driving up there. The trucks had all their hoses and stuff, and it was a dangerous situation.
Sure, one way in, one way out. Right?
Yeah. It was that kind of a thing, and so. So people, I went down to tell people not to come up, the situation that we had, and that, it looked like it was a total loss, and it was. And so, then it's kind of like, what do you do next? And I did some personal videos, put them out on Facebook with the very simple message that it's the only message I have, and that is the building's gone, but the church is still alive and well. That's the only message I have.
Powerful.
And
the church isn't the building. It never was.
It's the people.
When we first built the building, people would say, "You have a beautiful church," and I would say, "And the building isn't bad either."
And they needed to hear from you. They needed to hear directly from you. So that meant a lot, too, because then it made it very real, hearing from you. Yeah. Then what happened? What next step? Because you had church on Sunday.
Well, I mean, anybody that knows anything about Revival Center knew we were going to have church on Sunday. Because we have a no cancellation policy, and that doesn't matter what the weather is, and that doesn't matter whether we have a building or not. We're not going to cancel. So we, fortunately, a number of years ago, before we ever actually built that building, we would have tent meetings in the summer. And one of those years, we actually bought a tent. And so we'd been putting it up different years. And it was just a natural conclusion. We're going to put the tent up on the hill, and we're going to have church. And then we began to put out the word. We have needs. Churches began to ask what they could do. We had a man from Traverse City drive down with a full sound system, set us up with a sound system. We had 3 churches that brought us chairs, and others that were willing to bring us chairs. One church, I had one church lined up to bring us chairs, but they didn't bring us chairs because another church showed up that we didn't even line up. They said, we have these chairs. And so I'm like going, okay, we'll take them. And then, putting up that tent is always it's about a 2-hour job with the right people and working really, really hard.
Oh boy. So
when I went up on the hill and they were putting up the tent, which is one of the very few times I haven't been part of putting up the tent. When I went up there were dozens of people, and they were standing at the poles, and they were helping because people I didn't know, Amish families from Manton found their way into Cadillac. Church folks from all over, and people from our neighborhood, folks that never attended church anywhere. They showed up. Friends showed up, just along the way, that people I've known, and they just came. And they came to put that tent up. And so it was like when we got to Sunday morning, we were ready to worship.
What did your parishioners say? So you ran your service after church. What was some of the feedback that you got?
Everybody wants to know. They wanted to know what next, and they also wanted to know what caused the fire.
Okay.
And I didn't have good answers for what caused the fire because it was under investigation, and which is good. And yesterday ATF was there, and the state police were there, and they found that there was a short in a wire under the ground that was close to the building that had been the source of electricity going up and possibly the spark starting from that. Okay. It was nobody did anything. Nobody tried to burn our church. That did not happen. But there was certainly a lot of questions about that just because of the timing of when it happened.
Sure.
And but people wanted to know. They want to know what next. And of course, I told them, well, we're going to be up here for a while, and that's the immediate what next. We started making plans this week so that we can do children's ministry. We're getting other tents and stuff like that to do children's ministry in, and so that we can do what we do. We made plan. We already said we're going to do our food pantry. We minister to normally about 100 families a week through our food pantry ministry, the community food pantry. This week we actually had 87 families that we served in our parking lot.
Incredible.
We tried to notify different ones. A lot of people have used our building for years because we believe that that's part of our service to the community, and so. Folks that day from NA who meet in our building, they met in our building on Monday nights. They showed up.
Good.
And they said, we want you to know, Pastor Markham, we're going to meet in the parking lot on Monday night. I said, cool.
Thumbs up.
And so they had a great meeting, and one of the ladies even got her 5-year medal, and so that was a cool thing. I had some folks from we also house they meet in our building, the Community Neighborhood Watch program.
Yeah.
They said to me, can we meet with you on Monday? And when I showed up, they had a gift, and they wanted to give, because we don't charge anybody to use our building. We just never have done that kind of thing. We just figure it's our duty to serve our city. And there they were, our neighbors coming to help us financially, and that made a difference. It's like when you know that people love you and are willing to, they love you because they're willing to open their pocketbook.
Absolutely. Money talks. Yep.
Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And so it's kind of like, sometimes that's difficult for people, but they did. And another one of those neighbors matched what the other neighbors gave.
Okay.
And you know, it wasn't folks that are part of our congregation. It was just people that are our neighbors and our friends.
But don't you think, Pastor Markham, that what you've done in the footprint that you've left on the community in
Comes
terms
back
of
to you.
100%? Don't you believe? I mean, a lot of this I understand is God's work. That's actually the big picture. But don't you think that the reputation of the church and your outreach influences this?
I would love to take credit for that. But the truth of the matter is that we do what we do because we feel compelled to do it.
Okay.
We feel like this is who we are.
So
we wouldn't be who we are if we didn't do it.
Right. So before the show started, we were having a conversation, and you said when that building was built, the long-term intention for that building was not to be a church. Can you explain that?
Well, we were to start there, and it was to become a youth center, and then we were going to, you know, be building a main sanctuary and a bigger, you know, facility. That never really has happened. One of the wonderful parts about being in the building we've been in is nobody owns any space in our building. Everybody shares. So we've learned to live with each other and to cooperate with each other and help each other along the way. You know, going forward, you know, we've never actually had a separate youth space to where our youth could have their own space. They're always sharing space. Same with our children. Same with our food pantry ministry. And so going forward, it's our heart's desire to have them have their own space. And so we're not sure exactly what we're going to build. We're certainly going to build in that. We're going to try and build something that actually better meets the mission that we have. Our mission is simple: bless the children, bless the poor, bless the saints. And if we can do that and be a part of our community and bless our community, I know it sounds weird, but we just consider them all saints. we love our community, and we just want to make sure that going forward, we're able to do that in a better way. Because, you know, the first building was designed with a temporary thing in mind. It was then a wall was going to be taken down, and it was going to become a gymnasium for our youth, and that never happened. And so there's things that we want to do going forward, and maybe what we'll do is use this as a spring pad. We're not seeing it as the, you know, it's the end of something, but not the death of something. But one thing has to end for another thing to begin.
It's the start of something new.
Yeah.
So that's the long-term plan. Obviously, the fire that destroyed the building happened at a time of the year when you can meet outside under a tent for at least a few months.
Right.
So that's the short-term plan?
That's the short-term plan. We'll be up there at least July and August, maybe September. And then we have to find, I mean, obviously we're already looking for space, you know, on any given Sunday, because we're able to do what we do because we have two services. You know, in any given Sunday, we'll have 200 to 220, 230 people. And so that's a fair number. We can't bring that many people into our current sanctuary. That many people wouldn't have fit. So we have two services because of that. And but obviously right now we're doing one service because under the tent we can put more chairs and all that kind of stuff. And people can actually sit outside the tent if they need to in their lawn chairs and stuff. But the goal is to find a space here that can house these ministries, that we can have our food pantry, that we can, you know, that we can have our children's ministry, that we can have our youth ministries, that we can have those things happen, and just do maybe one service on Sunday mornings, you know, initially. So because that's always a challenge as well, but a space that we don't have to every week come in, set up, tear down. If we have to do that, we will, because that's who our people are. We do what we got to do.
Pastor Markham, when we talk about a new beginning, do you have renderings? I mean, are there drawings for your dream church or what your flock wants?
No.
Okay. So if our listeners out there, let's say somebody wanted to write a check or somebody wanted to help, how do they do that? How do they contribute to the rebuild and the new beginning?
They can get on our website, and I may say it wrong, so that tells you how savvy I am. It's Revival Center Cadillac .org is our website.
Okay.
I believe .com is our website. And or we have a GoFundMe page.
Great.
For rebuilding Revival Center.
Okay.
And so we have a GoFundMe page. They can do that. That's a simple thing to do. Mm-hmm. We also have a text to give, and they can designate it under that. And the text to give is 810-202-0605.
Okay.
And so they can help that way. Mm-hmm. And because whatever they give is going to go toward the rebuilding and making a Revival Center even, maybe one step further than what we've been before. Because one of the things we don't know how to do is go backwards.
Right.
That's just not who we are. We step one step forward, and if something knocks us back, we step 2 steps forward the next time.
Right.
That's just who we are.
So I have a question, because here this happens on a Saturday. You've got 200 plus people looking to Will Markham saying, "What next, Pastor?" You're the leader. What was your message on Sunday? I'm curious about what you had to say.
On Sunday, I preached about divine appointments.
Okay.
That God has times in our lives, in fact, more times than what we recognize. We'll get an appointment card from our doctor or an appointment card from somebody else, and we'll say, "Oh, I've got an appointment at such and such time." We may even get a reminder. But when it comes to God, He sets appointments in front of us all the time. And the thing about it is if you don't recognize them, you might miss them. Okay. And that God has many divine appointments, and He's looking for people to be looking for the appointment. And in any given day, you will find where you're supposed to be, with whom you're supposed to be. The verse that we talked about was simply this out of Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6, that says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding." I have problems with my brain. I don't know about others, but I try to figure stuff out in my head instead of leaning with my, listening to my heart. In all your ways, it says, acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. In another version, it says He will make your paths straight. So it shouldn't be all that hard if we have our focus on acknowledging God.
That's digging deep for someone who had to preach to 250 people without a church. You had to really live that, didn't you?
Without a building.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Without a building.
Without a building.
They are the church. Yeah.
Right.
That part isn't difficult for me to talk about because I look for divine appointments all the time.
Okay.
And I've had a lot of appointments. It's like, a number of years ago, I had started to go to the Blue Heron Cafe because I felt like I was supposed to go there and have coffee with these guys that didn't know me and didn't like me. In fact, I called them. I said, there were 2 movies, Grumpy Old Men. The sequel was Grumpier Old Men. And I said, if there'd been another one made, it would have been you guys' grumpiest old men.
Why didn't they like you? I find that impossible to believe.
Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau didn't live long enough for the third one. So.
No, they didn't. They didn't. And but here's the thing. Initially one of them really didn't like me, and but after a while he treated me just as bad as he did everybody else.
And that was a compliment.
And yeah, it was. And I was able, this is by the grace of God, but 3 of these guys have one guy was a Christian, a solid believer, but 3 other guys were not. And before they passed away, they invited me in to where they were to pray with them to receive Jesus as their Lord and Savior.
That's what you're here for.
That's what divine appointments are about. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's an appointment that keeps repeating over a long period of time. Mm-hmm. And other times you meet somebody and you say, wow, that was kind of an interesting, thing. Why did I? Or you run into them again, and you say, well, because see, I don't believe in coincidence. That's why I also don't believe that. I mean, this didn't catch God by surprise. What happened to our building? So what I have to do is acknowledge Him in all my ways and wait for Him to direct my path. I'm not always good at that because I have a tendency to want to figure it out and fix it. But here's the deal. I can't fix this. Mm-hmm. I just can't fix it. It's too big for me to fix. It's a path I've never been down before. And so maybe I'll get better. But divine appointments is what we talked about. And I'm hoping that our people are looking for that and even see this as such. It's an opportunity now, because divine appointments lead to divine purpose. And, it's kind of like we can actually partner with God in whatever we do if we're aware, that He's leading and directing our steps.
People you've heard from in the days after the fire. Any big surprises? People calling you up saying, "What can we do?" Were there surprises that from people that you heard from, or?
So I had a guy from the Congregational Church in Benzonia show up in our parking lot. I don't know anybody from that church. He showed up and he said, "What can we do?" And I said, "I'm not sure right now." Well, he said, "You can count on this. I'll be back, and I'll be back several times, and I'll have money with me to help you guys."
Incredible.
I don't know those folks, I had a new pastor from the Rollins Bible Church out in Manton. I'd never met him before. I've had those kind of, and he came to the building. I mean, he came to the building, what's left of it. Mm-hmm. But he came there just to talk to me and encourage me. I had a retired pastor here in town this morning. He said somebody came to me and said they had a bass guitar. You probably lost all of your sound equipment and all of yours. He said this person had a Fender bass guitar. They wanted to donate. I've just had that kind of stuff happen. Some of our musicians lost personal property. I mean, they had valuable things there, and but we've had people step up and say, "We want to help." Mm-hmm. I had a church in Orlando say, "We want to help with it," and they helped. They said, They just sent us, money to help us during this season. They said, It doesn't need to be for the rebuild. We want you to have, if you got to get things, we want you to be able to get things and not worry about the money part of it." So people have stepped up and they've made a big difference in that respect, and that's been a blessing. And it's just surprising at the number of people, and I had a call from a missionary in Guatemala saying, "I heard about it and I just wanted to call and pray with you, brother." And I'm like going, that's the kind of stuff that's happened.
Right. Yeah. Wow. The community comes together in a time of need. Haven't you seen that over and over again in the many years you've been here?
I would say that Cadillac is unique. It is different. And there have been pastors that came to Cadillac and experienced this, and then later on went to other places. And when they call me back up and they talk to me, they said, "It's not like this anywhere else, Will." Mm-hmm. Cadillac is unique.
Yeah. We've heard that time and time again.
It's precious.
Yeah. So you're looking for a place to congregate after it cools off, once we get into the fall.
Yes.
Okay. So if somebody has a space, get a hold of you.
Get a hold of me, and because we're looking, and we want to. And I can tell you this much: wherever we are, that place will be blessed.
You talked, and you brought this up, Katy, and I guess I want to clarify. Did you have your sermon chosen before the Sunday service, and did you change it?
I was going to preach on divine appointments.
Mm-hmm.
If I changed it, it was this. Normally my sermons are more scripted, and more pages. It was 2 pages, and but divine appointments is something that the Lord's put in my heart for many, many years. So I've talked about it before. It wasn't new territory, and it wasn't hard for me to talk about. But had I picked it before, yeah, I knew what I was going to talk about. I just didn't know what my illustrations were going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
Yeah. So it's amazing. We wanted to have you in here, Pastor Will, because I wanted you to have a chance to thank the community and thank the folks who are making a difference, who have made a difference in your congregation over the years and have since Saturday.
I'm very grateful, Rich. I couldn't be more thankful because people in our congregation have stepped up big.
Fantastic.
One of the things that I've said over and over again, and it's just true, in this city, there are many congregations, but one church. I'm thankful that the church has come alongside our congregation in this city.
Fantastic.
Wow.
So you are welcome anytime. Mm-hmm. Let us know what you need. We're happy to get the word out. And obviously, the church is very, very good with social media. So if you have a request, you're going to get it out there. How can folks connect with Revival Center Cadillac on Facebook or online?
If they look for Revival Center on Facebook, they'll find us.
Okay.
We're also on YouTube.
Okay.
I think we're still on YouTube. We were on YouTube prior to this last week, so.
Okay.
But we post our videos on YouTube. We're back to doing our Facebook with an iPhone.
Oh my!
So
many adjustments,
Yeah.
and yet you didn't miss a beat.
no, we have to do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. RevivalCenterCadillac.org is the website, and look it up on look them up on Facebook. And Pastor Will, thanks for coming in and sharing with us in the community. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for being such an incredible force for Cadillac.
Thank you for inviting me to share with you. It's an honor.
Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. Tune in next week, same time, same station for more local chat here on 107.9 CDY.